The Cubs are lost right now, and Danny Rocket is here as well to talk Cubs podcast history. Let's go.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thank you for being part of the show and making us your first listen today. And the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, like the video, and comment anything below. Today's episode is presented by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. In for Sam today is Danny Rocket, who is the host of the San Ranto Show, which is the longest running Cubs podcast. I do believe San Ranto has Wrigleyville Nation beat by a few months. At least that's what they claimed when I was on their show earlier this week. We will be getting to all sorts of Cubs podcast history to close this episode. And Danny is not only subbing for Sam, but also to promote Ranter Fest, which is a Cubs fan meetup taking place next weekend. Danny has invited most, if not all, of the Cubs blogs and podcasts. It's a 3-day event, Friday, May 31st, and then Saturday and Sunday, June 1st and 2nd. Tickets are available for the entire weekend or individually, and you can get those at sanranto.com/ranterfest. Danny, I'm so excited to have you on the show, and tell us a little bit about Ranter Fest before we get into the Cubs issues.
Sure. Thanks, Matt. And thanks for having me on the Lockdown podcast. I love the show. I love what you and Sam do. You guys do an awesome job. You know, keep me informed. I steal all your great ideas and put them on the San Ranto Show. It really is plagiarism in a way, but you know, I'm getting it from the best. What can I say? So Ranter Fest, we are the quote unquote longest running Cubs podcast going right now. It's true. Just, I think we're a season ahead of Wrigleyville Nation. Yeah. Maybe they started at the end of the 2013 season. And we started at the beginning of it. So anyway, we've met a lot of people and we've done a lot of shows and we won the World Series and then we had Blue Friday and we did all these things and we met so many people along the way. And there's so many Cubs podcasts and blogs and notorious fans, from your Bleacher Jeffs to your Mai Tai guys to your, and all the different Cubs Twitter personalities that we know and love. And then you got the Bleacher Nation crew and you guys and Chuggo. I mean, it went on and on and on. And to me, the way I wanted to celebrate a certain podcast milestone for us, which is 1,000 episodes, 12th year going. I wanted to do it with all of the ranters. And that's what I call basically all the pods and blogs. Everybody's got a little ranter in them. We are all irrational baseball fans from time to time. That's what makes it fun. That's okay. You know, that you can be a little irrational. But anyway, I decided, let's have a big party. Let's make it even bigger. Not just one party. Let's have 3 parties and we'll make it all one weekend when the Reds are in town and there's a Saturday night game. So that's what we're doing. And a lot of comedians come on my show. I'm a comedy writer myself. And so we have Joe Kilgallen, who's a up-and-coming star in the comedy world. He's performing at Ranter Fest. We've got Eric Wheelo, who's used to work at Conan O'Brien. He's performing at Ranter Fest. He's a Brewers fan, so he's going to stick it to Cub fans at the show. But I'll give you the specifics of it. We're doing comedy and music on Friday night at Output Lounge right after the Cubs play the Reds. So it's a post-game kind of party show. That's going to be at Output Lounge. It's just north on Clark, just north of Wrigley Field on Clark on the west side of the street. I forget the exact address. Everybody's got Googled Output Wrigleyville. Don't go to the other one. It's downtown. You'll be confused. And then they've got delicious wings. So we've got also Billy DeVore, a Reds fan, and his podcast partner is also going to be performing as well. Chris Weir, named the funniest guy in Cincinnati. Also, another Cubs fan, comedian named Ken Schultz is going to be performing as well. So we've got a full slate of comedy, and then the Bleacher Bum Band, my band with Bleacher Jeff, is going to play. We sing Cubs rock songs. It'll be a lot of fun. We'll be going probably from about 5:30 to about 8:30 doing that. And then the next day, we're all going to meet up with the likes of you, Matt, and Sam, and all the other Cubs podcasts and blogs that are in town and able to come. Along with, I've got live performances from John Benedict, who's the Cubs organist. He's going to sing the anthem. We're doing Elvis songs with Miguel Esparza, who is the Spanish language voice of the Chicago Cubs. You might know him from such home run calls as La Boto, and he's just an incredible dude. And he used to be an Elvis impersonator. So yeah. So I've been playing some music with him, doing Elvis songs. So I asked him to come on and do some stuff. We're doing games, and we got tons of amazing prizes that we're giving away and also raffling off. And we have an auction going on with some incredible autographs and raffles where you can win 2 tickets to the 1984 Cubs reunion at Club 400. Ballhawk Dave gave a jewelry and ball package. Connect Roasters gave us a nice package. We got a Joe Madden signed book. We've got I'm even auctioning off Bleacher Jeff's seat at a Cubs game, which I know is not kosher because it's supposed to be tradition, but hey, So, but anyway, we're gonna have this big Cubs fan party. We're gonna play games. We're gonna do trivia. We're gonna spin the B clock wheel. I'll let you decide what a B is.
Yes, right.
Cub fan grievances, and we got Sarah Sanchez coming up and doing that. So we're just gonna have a whole lot of fun, and it's all to raise money for the Lost Boys, which is this group.
That's right.
That does sports-based youth development in the South Shore neighborhood of Chicago. They do great work. Is my friend Levante. We've been working with them since 2020. So if we've had a relationship with them for 4 years, and this is the biggest event I think that we've done for them. We're selling T-shirts. We're doing the raffles for them, and 100% of the proceeds is going to go to Lost Boys. Levante will be at the party on Saturday. He's actually coming straight from a game, so he's going to have some kids in tow with him. So I'm like, oh, great. Now I got to buy the kids something. So we'll figure that out. But anyway, it's going to be a blast.
That's great.
Everybody's invited. That's at Almost Home Saturday starting at noon.
Yeah, I did see that.
And
we'll be there. Sam and I will be there Saturday, June 1.
And the show part of it, so there's food and drink specials. They're going to do a Chicago handshake special, they said, for us. So I'm shot of Malort in an old style.
Oh, boy.
Probably a buck off hamburgers or something like that, too, that they're going to do. They're going to figure out some food specials, but we're going to eat. And then at 1 o'clock, that's when all the party starts. We'll go to about 3:30 because Christopher Morel bobblehead night, and I certainly won't keep anybody from doing that. So we will wrap up around 3:30. But please come out. It is $25 to come, and it comes with 1 raffle ticket. So you could win. You could spend $25 and win $600 worth of tickets to Club 400 to hang out with the 1984 Cubs. So what a deal!
Amazing.
And we just want everybody to come together. And
right.
Those people are you and Sam and everybody that's listening to this right now. So hopefully, if you're in Chicago, please come on down to Ranter Fest.
Well, we've been thinking about a summer meetup and, still might do one of our own, but shoot, this is the one right here. And so I would encourage our listeners with the plenty of other guests that will be there and a great attendance of Cubs blogs and podcasts. Join us Saturday, June 1st. Yeah, about noon to 3:30. We'll put the link in this episode description. Okay. So Cubs lost the series to the Braves following a 3-0 defeat on Thursday. Ben Brown was excellent, perhaps a puzzling move by Craig Counsell to put Kyle Hendricks in a high leverage spot. Hendricks' relief debut, and the offense did not put up a fight once again as the Cubs lose the series. Danny, there's a lot of places to start here. I do want to start with the freshest thing that we're coming off of in terms of Hendricks to the pen. He enters the game in the top of the 8th, down 1-0. Counsell just said on the score on Wednesday that he would look for distant spots for Hendricks. And that situation didn't seem to me like a place for length. Tyson Miller was available, although he was probably the only one still available at that point. Hector Neris being saved for the 9th or beyond that. Just thoughts on Hendricks in that spot. It struck me as odd that he would be in a high leverage moment right away.
I mean, really, I have thoughts on Hendricks in any spot right now.
Okay.
Because, as much as I dig the idea that you're going to throw 88 in the 8th, because that's just kind of got a nice package to it, and if that were to work out, that'd be cool. You could make an obvious shirt, 88 in the 8th or something like that. But, I'm doubtful that this is going to work. I know what they're trying to do. They're just trying to elongate this thing and seeing if there's some way that it can play out positively for the Cubs. Today was not that day. It didn't show me anything different than what has been happening, which is the first time through the order, he gets nickeled and dimed and they make little soft contact and hit a bunch of singles. And then the second time through the order, they hit it a lot harder. And we didn't get to see that today because, well, luckily he did get the outs he needed. He did manage to do the 2 innings, but he let the game get away by, you're not going to, if you're not going to score any runs, you're not going to win anyway. But
right.
1-0 versus 3-0 feels a lot different. So, why wasn't it yesterday in the blowout? Why didn't they put him out there after instead? Who did they pitch yesterday? In the game on Wednesday, was it because because Quas blew it, because you had Quas, and then the game got away from us after that. Steele was pretty good until he wasn't, and then Quas'd it. And then you end up with like Quas for almost 2 innings, and you're like, well, what was that about? I mean,
why?
Why? Like, he obviously didn't have it. Maybe just let Hendo finish that game and not bring in Porter Hodge, or, I don't know what Craig's thinking, but it didn't work today. So, no. What are your thoughts on Hendo in the pen?
I think Hendricks is on borrowed time, Danny. I really think that this move to the bullpen really might be the beginning of the end. I still don't know what the end looks like. I don't think they're just going to send him home, but I also don't think it's like completely off the table. So we'll see. And, there's all these different layers right now, because just when you have Hendricks, maybe on his way out or his chapter coming to a close, Ben Brown is excellent again. And there is a little bit of a conundrum with him though, too, because he's being used in all sorts of ways. He probably has the best stuff, Danny, to be in short relief, but he was great again as a starter on Thursday against one of the best teams in the sport. 6 strikeouts, no runs, 1 hit in 4 innings. But now, because of the distance that he went and in a length spot, given the needs and scratching Hendricks and putting him in the pen, well, now I'm thinking ahead, and he's in gym shoes for what, 2 days? Maybe even the entire Cardinals series?
Yeah, at least. And it's frustrating because you don't want this guy, as a rookie to, I don't know, like, get confused. I don't want to say that, but like, you have something that's been working really well, and it's been working really well pretty much anywhere you put him. He could be your closer. Totally. Because he's got stuff like that as well with that big curve. It's weird to have a closer with a big curveball, but he does. So he's got a couple pitches he can play off. But what we need now is innings, man. And like, so why are you fooling around with anything but Ben Brown in the starting rotation? Because now that you've thrown Hendo out of there, now that Wicks is out of there, I don't know what the timetable on him is coming back, but Ben Brown, he's got the pedigree. He's been succeeding everywhere you put him. So if he can give you 6 innings, why aren't you taking that instead of fooling around with 2 innings every 3 days? Like, that does not make sense to me at all.
Right.
Now he's going to miss the entire Cardinals series, and maybe he does like some back end bullpen stuff on Sunday.
Yeah.
But or you're saving him for a start on Monday or something like that, or maybe you could do that because he didn't pitch that much today. But he had just pitched earlier in the season, in the series, right? I believe, didn't that? was it Monday that he pitched? Or no, sorry, we were off Monday.
Saturday or Sunday was his last appearance.
Yeah. So he's on a pitch count today.
Right.
So he had eight. I'm looking at it right now. He had 89 pitches versus the Mets. That was his last start.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah, May 2nd.
Yeah.
So then you don't see him again for 8 days, and then they bring him out in relief in Pittsburgh, Atlanta, and then against Pittsburgh again on the 19th, and then we see him again starting today. But I mean, isn't he more valuable starting the game?
I think at this moment in time, yes. And what a tough moment in time it is for the offense. Holy cow. Since April 27th, so the Cubs won that nice Friday night game against the Red Sox, and then they have been mostly terrible since. Okay, I have this in front of me here. Batting average last in baseball since the 27th of April at 198. In that 25 games, they're averaging 3.1 runs per game. And the last 7, they are 2-5 while also hitting a league worst 148. In this total 25 game stretch, they're 10-15. I really think that this next 7 are the last. I guess I'm being dramatic when I say last stand, but with those types of numbers, this exact group on this current roster, I don't think we're that far away from possible shuffling. You have the next 10 are against the NL Central, 3 Cardinals, 4 Brewers, 3 Reds. But beyond that Brewers series, if this is how it's going to go, and as we're discussing here, I mean, those 7 games even sound like a lot. But I do think that a shuffle could be ahead. I don't know exactly what that means. I think Michael Busch is the one that would most be in jeopardy in that situation. I would say keep an eye on everybody. Suzuki, Bellinger, and Happ are all struggling right now, though Happ performed better this Braves series. But those 3 will all be around. But I do think different names, to me, are about a week away or so. I'm not sure what else they could do.
Yeah.
Besides get better.
Well, exactly. And the guys on the team just have to do better. There's that aspect is that they just have to do better. And Michael Busch is kind of an example, is the perfect example of something like that. He came out swanging. And he had that stretch where he hit home runs like pretty much every day in early April. And then he has hit he has 7 home runs right now, but he only has 1 home run since April 15th. So that's a full month of just a complete power outage. Wow. At that point, he had an OPS over 1,000 on April 21st. Now, small sample size, sure. But now to have it down at 779, that's quite a drop off in a month. And so that's a little concerning. Maybe the Michael Busch that the Dodgers were like, yeah, this isn't the guy. I know he's blocked, but maybe there's a reason he's blocked, and that we had to go get Freddie Freeman because we don't believe in Busch. So, the defense hasn't really been there too with him. He's dropped a few balls here and there. He made a really nice play today, so it's hard to say.
Yeah,
that
but he's been up and down.
He's been up and down, and he's a young guy. You got to give this stuff some time to work its way out, so I get it. Give him a leash, some sort of leash. But I think you're right. When you see the likes of like PCA, who by all stretches had a pretty darn good time of it when he came up defensively, that'll play all day long. He's ready right now in the outfield. Yes. He's incredible. He gets to everything. The speed will always play. The fact that he's the only guy on the team that seems to be able to lay down a bunt. Now, not everybody likes bunts. I don't really like bunts that much, but he can do it, and he's so fast that it actually works out. So he's a disruptive. He can steal some bases. He can come. There's certain things about his game that I'm like, and then he went down to Iowa and hit a home run right away. And I'm like,
right.
So to me, and I know they play different positions. I don't
think he's going to be down there very long.
Well, yeah, because Bellinger, your best team is, Bellinger's a great center fielder. but he's a better first baseman than Bush. So if Bush is not performing, why don't you have Belly at first base where he is a better first baseman than Bush? And then the switch out is PCA in center field, and then you get that upgrade because he's PCA is a better center fielder than Belly, and Belly is a great center fielder.
Yep.
So, and then the other shuffle out, like you said, Hap, wasn't performing. We had a decent series, hitting the ball a little harder, had a couple of doubles. Is this the moment that now Ian Happ hits, 500 for a month, and then his batting average evens out? And then from May 15th to June 15th, he's unstoppable. Let's hope. Because somebody needs to step up because they had 3 hits today or 4 hits today, 3 hits yesterday. They won one game against the Pirates, and it was 1-0. The game that the Brave series, the game that they won in this series, 2, they barely won, and they took 10 innings and a Nico Horner Baltimore chop walk-off to win. So, like,
they're scraping by.
They're scraping by. The 2 wins that they got in this homestand were scrape buys. Yes. They did not put a single one of these teams away in either one of the wins, and they got put away a couple of times. So, like, something's got to give. You're right, Matt. You're absolutely right. It's like, you can't just keep throwing this out there and expect it to be any different.
Yeah, and there's not too many names in Des Moines, but I do think there's at least 2, and it's PCA for sure. And then the other one that I would say would have high upside and you would be excited about, and it would be appropriate for him to come up because he's performing, is Owen Casey. And so let's keep an eye on what they do for the iCubs. All right, coming up next, we're moving on from this series, and we're going to preview Cubs Cardinals. Stay tuned. Ibotta is a free app that gives you the most cash back every time you shop on hundreds of items, from groceries to beauty supplies to toys. You can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibotta, just add your offers in the app, upload your receipt, and you get real cash that you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. Join the over 50 million savers and earn cash back every time you shop from over 2,000 brands and retailers. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying it by using code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the Apple or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back by using code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Ibotta, IBOTTA, and use code LOCKEDONMLB. Today's episode is also brought to you by Supplyhouse. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades. Supplyhouse.com, the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Get expert support, industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business, and talk to a real person every time. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks. That's supplyhouse.com to try Supplyhouse today. The Cubs play the Cardinals at 7:15 p.m. Central Friday, and you can hear every pitch of the Cubs hometown broadcast on SiriusXM by searching Cubs on the SXM app. And you might need that call because all 3 of these games with the Cardinals are not only at night, but they're all on national TV. Friday's game is on Marquee, but it's also on MLB Network. Then they go to Fox Saturday and ESPN on Sunday. It's going to be Imanaga and Mikolas, Tyone and Liberatore, and TBD against Gray. Mikolas and Liberatore both with ERAs in the 5s, while Sonny Gray has a 2.87 ERA, but did get hit around 2 starts ago against the Angels and 3 starts ago against the Brewers. Cardinals offense has left a lot to be desired this season, although the last week or so they are starting to heat up, including Nolan Gorman, who has 3 home runs, as Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt are still scuffling. Rivalry series, Danny, I am looking forward to, as I am all of his starts at this stage, and then some. Imanaga's outing on Friday night against a rival team. I'm really excited about him. And what impression has he made on you so far?
Oh man. I don't think we've seen. Well, obviously, it's a historic start. I saw all the comparisons to Fernando Valenzuela that happened in the early '80s with Imanaga just having his first 8-9 starts in the MLB, 9 starts in MLB. With the ERA, I believe it's still under. Is it still under 1?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, just an incredible start for this guy. I love watching him pitch because he's not a big man. He's not like somebody that you're going to look at and be like, "Oh, this guy's going to blow everybody away." He's he's just crafty. He's super smart on the mound. I think he's watching every single thing that the batter does. How he flinches, how he took that pitch. Oh, I wonder if he'll take it again, or if I put it right here. I think he's constantly thinking, constantly changing his approach. And it's exciting to watch because he's just has command of the mound. And at the same time, he's really loose and fun.
Yeah, he's a joy to see pitch.
Yeah. So he's really loose, but he's really smart. So those two things together makes him a joy to watch. And it's obviously been a great start to the season. Yeah, dude. I mean, what a steal.
No kidding.
What a
no
steal.
Kidding. And I think on paper, I like the pitching matchups. Really want to see them bounce back and win 2 out of 3. A little bit of national exposure. I don't really buy into much of that. But it's going to be cool to see them on this stage, and I hope just they're able to respond and find something on the road. Especially offensively.
The Cardinals are closing the gap. I mean, they're a little bit behind us
yeah.
now. I think they were 8-2 in their last 10, whereas we've been 3-7. And so here they come. They were in last place. We are all laughing at them and making fun of their City Connect jerseys because they named it after a toilet, and it's hilarious. I mean, it's hilarious, but hey, if they sweep us, they take over from us. So we gotta get serious.
They're on
here.
alert.
Yeah. So everybody should be on alert. They got that AARP pitching staff that they're throwing at us. But hey, we can't go into St. Louis. We're dragging in. We're dragging the offense.
Really are.
You gave those numbers. We're dragging in. There's got to be somebody's got to step up. Cubs need to put up a big crooked number, and then maybe some of that tension that the team is feeling right now, where that you don't want them to start pressing. They might already be pressing, but this like you said, all these Central Division, each game counts for 2 games right now. In my book,
yes.
So you gotta win the Central. If you don't win the Central, I think it's a disappointment to Cub fans this year. Because we should win the Central.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you have a stretch of 10 in a row after barely playing any. So
stupid.
Despite their dismal efforts lately, I am excited about this stretch and what could happen. But I'll hold my breath. This is a segment I've been excited about since Danny and I have exchanged messages the last couple weeks. We're going to get into Cubs podcast history. Who was the first one? How has it evolved? And more. Stay tuned. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL. And FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. And this could be a good early sign. As of recording time, Cubs are minus 144 Friday night against STL. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. All right, we're back here on Locked On Cubs. Danny Rocket in for Sam Olber, who will be back on Monday to recap Cubs Cardinals and a whole lot more. All right, Danny. So we've established San Ranto. Obviously there's no official record keeping happening, but longest running Cubs podcast. Okay. But I learned from you in our exchanges, and again, Wrigleyville Nation just behind, but a podcast called Ivy Envy, which I had heard and I know a little bit about, but the first one had no clue. And as a radio and podcast nut, I thought I would have. But share with us about Cubs Cast, which was the first Cubs show.
Yeah, it was Lou and Sheps, and these guys, they were. I mean, they were. I want to say, and I don't have the exact day that they did it, but their last show was in 2014, and they certainly were active during the 2007-2008 run, because I was living in New York City at the time, and they were kind of my lifeline
Wow.
to Cub fandom. Like I had a few Cubs. There's a Cubs bar in New York called Kelly's in the East Village. So I would go there every now and again and meet some other Cub fans. And I have a few Cub fan friends in New York. But these guys, I'd walk around and I'd listen to them. And it was like having some buddies, and they were great. At some point, I believe it was sometime in 2013, 2014, like right as we were getting started. Maybe it was even earlier than that.
Yeah, I think you're right. Jeremy and Pat mentioned similar
Around that area, that
Yeah.
time, all of a sudden they just stopped releasing episodes. And it was like, what's going on? And so they had a website and they had a message board, like one of those old fashioned message board. You'd go in there every now and again and say, what's up? They had some contests and things like that they would do. And they clammed up and what's going on? It turns out they got a cease and desist order from the Cubs.
Yeah.
For having the word Cubs in the name of their show, Cubs Cast, which is why when I went to name the Son Ranto show, and their Ivy Envy was the same way, and possibly Wrigleyville Nation is this way too, that we all named our shows something without Cubs in it.
Yeah.
Because we didn't want to get sued and cease and desisted by the Chicago Cubs. So then, of course, years later, after there's got to be 20 different Cubs podcasts. I tried to make a list and invite as many of them as I could to Ranter Fest, but most of them have Cubs in their name now or some sort of, and it always like chaps my hide a little bit. I'm like, damn it, I was first. I should have had these names, but instead I'm called something stupid, Son Ranto, that, that nobody even knows, what the heck it means unless you know who Ron Santo is. It's just the most confusing thing. It's like a spoonerism of sorts. But yeah, so they cease and desisted. Then Ivy Envy came out. And they were a good year, maybe 2 years ahead of us, a season and a half. And they didn't even do off-season shows like back then because, it wasn't really that easy to make a podcast. You had to submit it to iTunes. They didn't necessarily accept you.
Yeah.
You had to, have some sort of pedigree or seem that you knew what you were doing. I don't know if they were listening to audio quality to see if you had a real microphone or something like that. But, it took as long, if you did an hour-long show, it took an hour long to bounce it, unless you that kind of thing, because the little rudimentary, the sound, the recording equipment was different. So anyway, so it was Ivy Envy, then us, and it was just, and Wrigleyville Nation. It was just the three of our shows just kind of drifted along as like this little triumvirate of Cubs podcasts. And then there was a bit of an explosion starting with like the what's Cubs related, which now has become CHGO because they bought that show from Corey Friedman. And so now there's, you guys, and I don't know how long you guys have been around, but I could look at this list.
Well, we took over Locked On Cubs in July of 22, but I think we were the fourth hosts.
Well, and you have a fascinating story as well, because wasn't it something that you guys had listened to it and then you're like, whatever happened to Locked On Cubs? And then you met the guy at a grocery store or something like what happened there? It's wild.
Yeah. So I, as just a diehard Cubs fan and someone that knows the industry pretty well, I was listening to some of these shows. I noticed that shortly after opening day in April of 22, the last host had left. Which was Andrew Bellison, the former PA announcer of the team.
Right.
And so I would check the feed every now and then. There was never any new shows. So finally, Sam and I, good friends for a while now, we were doing a show weekly that no one listened to. It was kind of like a catch-all show. We were doing it just for fun, but I knew we were doing a good show. I knew we had something. So finally, about June rolls around, and I'm like, should we reach out to Locked On? I could never find that email. Sure enough, one day after summer school I was teaching in June of 22, I go into a Subway on the south side of Crystal Lake up in the Northwest Burbs, and the host of Locked On Blackhawks was there. And he put me in touch with the people at Locked On, and the rest is history.
Wow. Yeah, that's how radio actually happens. The job I currently have writing comedy for morning radio.
Yeah.
I got that job when I was out in the middle of Times Square getting drunk with my friend Johnny, and we met a girl smoking cigarettes on the street, and we started talking to her. She's like, "You guys are funny. You guys ever want to do radio prank calls?" And we're like, "Hell yeah!" So we exchange numbers. 20 years later, I'm like working there. It's been bought by 2 different companies, but I'm like still. But that's how that thing happens. You're at a Subway, you're on the street, like you meet somebody, and then that's just how that goes. And then there's so many different shows. You got the Bleacher Nation had the show for a while.
For some reason, I don't remember that one.
Onto Waveland that they did with Sahadev Sharma.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant something else. I knew that one.
No, yeah. They had, that was kind of like through them, but it was also The Athletic. Like it was kind of confused.
Right.
I know NBC Sports had one. Cap has the recap with Gordo now. There's Wrigleyville Nation. Fly the W is my old co-host Crawley's show that is now produced by 670 The Score.
Yeah, wow.
And
is
then
Crawley going to be there on June 1?
Crawley will be there. Crawley's running bingo. We're hoping that he waits until at least the game before the shirt comes off, because we know it's happening at some point in the night. Pointless Exercise, Bums in the Bleachers. I'm like looking at the list of it now.
There's so many.
Setup Man's a new guy that's out there now. This guy
been
Kyle
on his show already. Yeah,
he's a nice guy. I've been hanging out with him.
Yep.
Cubs on Tap, of course, Ron Luce and that whole group of people.
I've reached out to them recently.
Yeah. Whoa Cubs Whoa is a new one. I guess these guys are down in Texas. They're brothers, I think.
Oh my God.
I haven't, it just goes on and on. And to me, it's like, it's cool for me to see it after 12 years of doing this, that, I don't view all these people as competition. I love listening to the shows because there's so many of us talking about it. I feel very lucky because I learn things from you guys,
Sure.
Everybody has a little bit of a different interest. Like, Brendan Miller, for example, he used to play, so he really understands pitching. So when he's talking X and Y access, like my brain goes away a little bit, but there's a certain point in which like he becomes the most interesting person because there's something going on that he's seeing that nobody else can know about, or, in your guys' perspective, and also the people that are more in the stadium versus people that
on the beat.
On the beat, and so it goes all ways. And even though we all are pretty much seeing the same thing, and to be honest, saying pretty much the same things, because we're all smart baseball fans. And so, last year when you're watching Hosmer and Mancini, we were all saying to get them off the team. Everybody but Jed Hoyer knew.
Believe it or not, it wasn't a hot take. It wasn't.
It was not, because we all said, and it's interesting when people have differing opinions, and so other teams don't have this. If you're a Mariners fan, there's only a couple choices. Maybe it's put out by the Mariners.
That's a great point. Other teams don't have this.
They don't. They don't have as many blogs. They don't have as many perspectives. Like my buddy, who's Billy DeVore, one of the comedians that's performing at Ranter Fest. He has it's called the New Nasty Boys, and it's their Reds podcast. They have, it's them and like the
Locked On Reds
and Locked on Reds, which is I want to say, what's his name? He's been on my show before on Sun Ranto.
Jeff Carr.
Yeah.
Great
so
guy.
him, and then there's there's one more that comes through the SB Nation site. Anyway, it was only 3. Is all I'm saying. There's 3 Reds podcasts, and
versus
you don't really
23.
Versus 23, where you have a choice, and maybe you meet people, and like when you throw a meetup, like maybe there's at least 25 people there that you can hang out with.
Yes.
So we're just lucky, and it's great. I say the more the merrier. It's hard to make a podcast every day. You guys do a great job. You go every single day, and that's it's a grind. It's 162, man. I've done it. I did the 60 game season pre and post.
Okay. And, wow.
Yeah, we did. We went live pre and post every single day. I mean, I don't remember half the shows because by the end of it, I was down on Bleacher Jeff's porch, just like drinking vodka. It was the panty, you know what I mean?
That was
there's nothing else to do.
Unprecedented times, as they
say. Exactly. Yeah, my liver will never forget. But But anyway, it's great to have you guys and everybody
Absolutely,
that's out there.
Danny.
But it's very cool. And so that's my podcast history.
Thank you. No, that
Yeah.
was really good. Sam and I will be at Ranter Fest Saturday, June 1st. Again, it'll be great attendance there. Link is in this episode description. And Danny, thank you once again for filling in.
Yeah, dude. Anytime. I love talking to you about the Cubs, and we'll have you on Sun Ranto too, because
please,
because you're one of the great shows out there, and it's
Appreciate
just
it.
I love talking to you, and I would love to talk to Sam sometime too. I
Yes.
guess I will at Ranter Fest.
I think so. Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Cubs. You give us 20 to 30 minutes. We'll give you all things Cubs with a laugh or two along the way. Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube, smash the like button for the algorithm, and leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcast. For Danny Rocket, I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On.